To learn about the off-grid lifestyle and to be inspired to live your dreams, click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Hit the bell notification. Okay, so we're back at the tiny house porch roof build, and I'm hoping that this is the last day. It's not been a hard project. I've only worked a few hours each day on it. What, 3 days so far? So this is probably, I guess, the 4th day. Most everything's done. I got the post up. I got the frame going all the way around, and then I got this little center beam here. When I run my studs across, or whatever you want to call those, rafters, this will hold the board up so I can do it by myself. That way I can screw in one side. This will hold the board up, and then I can come over and screw the other side in. Like I've said in the past, in previous videos, go check them out. I've got my post coming down into a concrete bucket, a bucket of concrete. And then I have a second post. So I got one 2x4 doing that. And then I got a second post that comes down on top of the porch. So that board holds the weight of this beam. The concrete is just kind of a footer to hold everything together. Now I've gotten to think about this. I'm going to paint all this, just so you know. That way we won't have any rotting issues. But I'm going to fill the bucket up with concrete, again, fuller, so the paint will keep the water from absorbing in. But if this ever rots out at this portion down here in the bucket for whatever reason, I can literally just cut that board off, get another bucket of concrete, and then put in another leg. Just screw another leg into it. So just put a board, let's say, from here down to the ground in a bucket of concrete. That's the whole point of putting it in the concrete in the first place, in a bucket, is that it's not a permanent structure. I can always move this. Just cut the concrete bucket off, pick the whole thing up, and move it out of the way. That way, which I'll never do, just to be clear, but that way if I ever want to move the house, the porch roof can just come off and I can move the whole house out from underneath it. That's been the plan the whole time. The bucket is kind of a temporary thing. That's why I didn't bury it in the ground. I'm already getting criticisms on it, which reminds me, I love folks who come in and say, I'm not a hater, but I don't agree with what you're doing. Well, then you're already missing the point. I don't care if you agree with what I'm doing here. That's mine. I'm not showing you how to do it. I'm showing you that you can do it. That's the whole point of my videos, is I want you to live your dream. Not my dream. My dream is to put posts in buckets of concrete. Your dream may be to dig holes 20 feet down in the ground and pour concrete. That's your dream. Unless you just don't agree with having a dream, which I can't imagine, then you're missing the point of the videos. So, no, I'm not trying to teach you how to build a porch. I'm teaching you that you can build a porch, or you can build your dreams. Okay, so I'm going to get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut and run the rafters across. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it a little bit different, because one of the things I got to worry about is I need an inch overhang off the side of the porch here. So I'm going to go 2 feet back, right? Each one of my studs is going to be 2 feet, but instead I'm going to make my first stud 1 foot 11 inches. That way I can have that 1 inch overhang. I'll show you what I mean when I get up there. So as I was explaining earlier, this center board here, it's just temporary. I'm just using it to hold the boards that I'm running across, so when I screw them in, I got something holding it so I don't have to have a second person. Anything you can do to make the job where it's a one-person job is what I'm trying to do. So when you're living your dream, you can be as independent as I am. Okay, so I got all the rafters up now. When you're talking about 2 feet center, 16 inches center, whatever that is, what that means is your board here, so you'll see that I have a mark here. That's my 2 feet. Actually, you know, as I showed you, we went 23 inches, but it's 2 feet from this board. So then you put your center of your board along that mark. So that's 2 feet center. Now, that being said, you always start out on the edge of your first board. You don't start out in the center. And that way, when you're doing drywall or plywood or anything, it's always 8 feet by 4 feet. Even this stuff that I'm using is actually 8 feet by 2 feet. So it's always divisible by 2s is what I'm trying to say. So 16 inches, when you extend that out, it goes 4 feet, 8 feet. That means that when you start out here, you put your plywood right here, and then it will end up 8 feet right on the center of this board. And then you would start your next piece of plywood or drywall at the center and go on to the next piece. That's why you do 2 feet or 16 inches center. All right, so the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to get my plastic roofing sheets and I'm going to put them up there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the first row out. Just lay it out, just to see how it goes. And then I'll have to take them off, of course, because I got to get my ladder up there and I got to go section to section. But I want to make sure I get it laid out first before I start screwing them down. Okay, so I've laid them all out. I screwed this one down, the first one, with just, what, 3 screws? And then what I got to do is I got to move all these out of the way so I can screw the first one and then move over to the second one. But I wanted to lay it all out to make sure everything was lining up okay. Although they do slide down, you can see right here, slid down a little bit, but they do line up all the way across. These are very lightweight. What's interesting is, even though they're see-through, it does kind of dull the sunlight a little bit. So that's kind of neat. We're not even full bloom yet. We still got a lot more blooming to do with our leaves. So this is just, I love this porch. So I'm going to screw these down and see if I got enough time to do the top 2 feet. I have to cut each one of these panels twice. They're 8 feet, so I got to cut 2. I got to make 3 pieces out of each one, and there's 3 pieces left. So those that were with me when I built the tiny house will know that I bought way too many screws for the metal roofing material. I only needed about a half a box, and between the mix-up with Menards and their website, I ended up getting 2 boxes. I had to pay for 2 boxes, and they're not cheap. And, you know, people keep saying, well, return them. Well, that's a pain, too. If I have to ever be angry at anything, I'm just going to make it Menards. But I'm going to use these screws that I bought too much of. And you can see they work fine. And you put the screws at the peak, not the valley on this type. You put them on the peak. And so that way you're going to have some screws sticking out there. I don't know if you can see that, but there's some screws sticking out of the wood. And so these have little gaskets in them right there, and that gasket seals up against that, so the water will run down the side of it instead of underneath the screw. Now when you did this, you weren't supposed to put them on the peak. You had to put them in the valleys on the metal. Different type of design. These are just rigid, and these just have one every 2 feet, I guess, 1.5 feet. So I'm going to screw these down. It's not that hard. And with this plastic, it's real easy. I mean, it just goes right into the plastic. You can really poke it through by hand. So this screwdriver, this screw wrench, this drill, whatever you want to call it, has a clutch on it, has different numbers. You can go full power and it uses all the power, or you can clutch it down and it will slip like that. That way you don't go too deep. So it just stops. And so I'm going to do that so everything's set the same height and it doesn't squish that plastic down too much, because you want that water to roll off. You don't want divots there. You want that water to roll off. Ta-da! Yep, finally got it done. I promised you I'd do it, and I did it. And it's still springtime, exactly the time I said I would do it. So I hope I can inspire you to create something for your dream. Thanks for watching.